Hey, good morning. Welcome to the JeepSolid Garage. So today I'm going to be covering the lapping of my valves. I have the head off of my inline 6 and it is in really rough shape. So let's take a quick look at it. Rattlesnakes!
Don't drop it.
Stop! I actually had this for a... So I've got the engine out of my Jeep Wrangler YJ there, doing a rebuild on it. Be sure to subscribe so you can follow along as I go through this process. And here's the head I'm working on. I got quite a bit of cleanup to do on this. There's a lot of carbon buildup in there. The seats for the valve look pretty rough. There's quite a bit of carbon buildup and deposits on there. A little bit of pitting going on. That kind of makes me worried a little bit, but I think I can save these seats. I'm going to use the old school valve lapping method and walk you guys through that process as I go through it. So I'm going to be using my Dremel Tool. I've got these brass adapters that I'm going to use to clean up those seats, a mask and safety glasses 'cause I don't want to breathe the dust I'm going to be kicking up. And I've got my valve lapper and down here my valve lapping compound. I'll be sure to include all of these items in the description of my video down below where you can find them. And over here in the back of the Jeep, because that's where everybody keeps their valves, right? There's all my valves and springs and retainers and all that. Now these valves are, I think I can save them, but they're a bit pitted. And you can see the seats on this are really rough, so I just need to clean it up a bit. I'm hoping to save these valves and be able to reuse them, but yeah, they're pretty rough right now. Let's see what we can do with them. So here I'm just using my Dremel tool with that brass bit on it to break off a lot of the big pieces. We'll vacuum those out. And we're going to give it a quick coating here with my oven cleaner. This stuff works great at removing the burnt on oil. Just let it set for a while and then wipe it off. Alright, so I'm going to just let that cleaning solution, it's actually an oven cleaner. I did a little test of different cleaners and I was really impressed with how oven cleaner took the oil and dried on varnish off of there. So I'm going to let that set for a little bit, wipe it up, get all the rest of those oils off, that carbon and garbage. I'm not doing a true port and polish on this. I just want to get these valves reseated and kind of clean it up a bit. If you're looking for a port and polish video, there's really good videos out there. This is not one of those. I'm not covering port and polish. So let's get this cleaned up. If you guys have tips or tricks, things that work well for you, leave a comment down below. Let me know other things I should be doing or things that worked really well for you. Maybe help out some other viewers. Alright, after a few rounds of spraying this down, wiping it off, scraping some of the old gasket material off, using my Dremel to get a lot of the big carbon buildup off. I think we're making some good progress, and these seats are actually starting to look a little bit better. I really hope I can save them. They look much better already, and I haven't even done my valve lapping, so I think we're making good progress. But I still do have a little more work to do, some more carbon buildup I want to get off there. So a little more work here with my Dremel tool with my brass bit on there, and you just want to scrape off the burnt on oil here. You don't want to be spending a lot of time with the bit where the valve actually seats. You want to be real careful in those areas. And I'm just still really amazed at how well this oven cleaner is at removing all the burnt on oil on this thing. This will be a much better surface to work on now that we're getting it all cleaned up. And one of the things I love is a Saturday afternoon, working in the garage with the game on. I don't know, I just really like that. Enjoy hanging out in the shop. Now this process here I'm scrubbing with just a brass brush, just getting all the little detail work done. Doesn't take too long. Alright, not perfect, but that'll do. And it's definitely much better than it was. So this is the surface right here. This little edge right here and right here is where our valve lapping is going to occur. And this is what we actually particularly want super clean. The valve lapping compound will get this all cleaned up and shiny, and we'll get a nice good seat there. So this actually looks like it'll turn out pretty good. And all the rest of the cleanup I was doing on the inside of the intake ports and exhaust ports, that's more, I don't know, it's not even cosmetic. The intake, I wanted that definitely clean. Didn't want a bunch of carbon coming in and plugging up my new valve job I'm going to do here. But overall, I just kind of wanted to get it cleaned up. Alright, I'm happy enough with how the head turned out there, so let's turn our attention to the valves. Okay, now I've got my valves here and my bench grinder set up. These valves are in really pretty rough shape. So here I've got an intake and exhaust valve. Let's look at these real close. So the seat on this intake valve is obviously very rough. There's a lot of carbon buildup and deposits on it. Some pitting going on. You don't even really see a seat there. So we're gonna try to grind a good seat back into this. And on the intake valve here, a little bit better. I mean, you can at least kind of see where the seat is supposed to be. You know, there's a little bit of marking on it. Try to get it cleaned up as well. So here I've got my grinder set up, and I have a brass wheel on here because we don't want to take the metal off of the valves here. We want to just scrape those deposits and carbon buildup off. So the brass wheel will be real good at that. So what I'm going to do, I got a little bit of little piece of rubber here. I'm going to put it over the end of the valve stem because we want to be very careful not to scratch up or damage the valve stem here. This sets down into the valve guides in the head, and we want it to stay really smooth. We don't want to mark it up at all. So we're going to put a little piece of rubber over that, and then we can put it in the chuck of our drill here without marking it up. If you don't have a little piece of rubber like this, you can use masking tape or anything just to kind of protect your stem there. And the reason we do that is so we can kind of spin our valve here as we're cleaning it up. We're going to clean off the backside here, a little bit around where the seat is going to be, and on the face here we're going to clean that up a little bit as well. We don't want to do any of the grinding with our brass wheel on the stem at all. We want to leave this alone. We're just going to be working down here. So this cleaned up fairly well. You can see on the back side here, this used to be really rough, like almost like sandpaper if you rubbed your finger on there. Now it's quite a bit smoother, but let's zoom in on that. You can see all this pitting right on the back side here. There you go, that's a real good shot of it. So all that pitting is going to cause us problems. Alright, now that we got those all cleaned up, we can get on to the actual valve lapping here. And I'm gonna have to call that a wrap. I'm out of time this week. I'll call this part one of the valve lapping process, preparing the head, getting it ready. Be sure to tune in next week, next Friday. I will have part two, the valve lapping video up, and I'll link in the description below. And I'd like to give a very special thank you to my patrons out there. They help support the JeepSolid Garage, and I greatly appreciate you. It means so much to me. It helps support the JeepSolid Garage and lets me do what I love and make more videos for you. If my videos have helped you out, be sure to go check out my Patreon page. I'll link in the description below. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.